Five Nights at Freddy's fans are no strangers to broken messes. Look at Security Breach. It was met with delay after delay just to be released like this. But what about fan games? From the expertly crafted to what the fuck, there's thousands of options out there. So some are obviously going to be absolutely broken and so goofy in the best possible way. So today I gathered the most broken FNAF fan games I could find, starting with the hardest FNAF fan game ever made. Developed by RJack25, PostShift 2 was one of the most anticipated FNAF fan games ever, but it was so criticized on release that it was removed from GameJolt in just 5 hours. Why? Visually, this game is a masterpiece, not to mention how it has fully animated cutscenes and an hour-long banger soundtrack. It's such an ambitious project that Night 1 to Night 3 had to be in a separate exe file to the rest of the nights because it was too much for ClickTeam to handle. So what's went wrong? But first, this video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, a completely free-to-play tactical turn-based MMO battle game with something for everyone. But why choose Raid? Well, maybe because of the stunning graphics that rival console games, or maybe because of the over 700 champions to pick from. Not to mention how there are billions of ways to customize and build your champions. Raid's dedicated developers are always pushing out new champions and updates each month, so there's always something new to do. For example, they've just added a brand new boss, Akumori the Phantom Shogun. This undead general is guarding everything we need for the accessory extension, a new feature that allows you to upgrade your gear to become incredibly powerful. Raid have also just wrapped up their limited series, Raid Call of the Arbiter, which you can check out all 10 episodes on the official Raid Shadow Legends YouTube channel. It's a fun mobile game to play on the bus, at school, really anywhere. But if you don't like playing games on your phone, then you can always install Raid on your PC. So with all of this amazing content and more coming to Raid, why not give it a try? Use my link in the description or scan the QR code on screen now to get a ton of bonuses, like this epic champion Talia and other items like energy refills, skill tome, and XP boosters. Once you're in, come find me under the name EchoNexYT, and if you install the game fast enough, then you can come join my clan. The link is in the description, and I'll see you on the battlefield. October 31st, 2022. After an over 3-year-long wait, PostShift 2 was released. People started playing Part A just to realize this game is hard. Really hard. There's pages and pages of tutorials and so many mechanics that are all thrown at you at once. Most FNAF games slowly introduce new gameplay elements. Take Five Nights at Freddy's 1 for example. Bonnie and Chica are introduced on Night 1, Foxy on Night 2, and Freddy on Night 3, with each of their AIs slowly ramping up. But in PostShift 2, throw all of that away because in Night 1 there's 4 different animatronics, which doesn't sound bad when most FNAF games require maybe 1 or 2 seconds of action to prevent an animatronic from killing you. But PostShift 2 is so overcomplicated that one animatronic requires an expert level of understanding. For example, Minotaur Freddy. When you hear an incredibly faint sound of a piano being played, and I mean barely audible, it means he's either in the construction area or the cleaning and sanitary area. If he's in the construction area, he'll appear out from the hole and you are given 15 seconds to get to the promotional area. But if he goes to the cleaning and sanitary area, you need to flash your lights in the vent, open your tablets, report him, and then answer the most vague questions ever. And if you guess one single one wrong, you're basically dead. That is just one animatronic out of 4 in the first night. This leads to 10% of people just trial and erroring this game, dying over and over again for literal hours, since the walls of text explain it so vaguely, with the other 90% just giving up and uninstalling after they get jump scared for the 10th time. But surely, after the insane overcomplication of Night 1, there can't be any more mechanics, right? Nope. On Night 2, there are 3 more animatronics, and Night 3 is the same as Night 2, but with all the animatronics having higher AI levels. And it only gets worse, because each night in Part B is completely different to each other, containing different animatronics, environments, and the gameplay progressively getting harder and harder until Night 6, the hardest FNAF night I've ever seen. This night is split into 3 sections, 12 AM to 2 AM, 2 AM to 4 AM, and 4 AM to 6 AM. Each section will have different animatronics and mechanics, totaling up to 16 animatronics. Not to mention the finale after 6 AM, where you have to survive 200 seconds against the Malgabots and Revenants, who both have 3 different mechanics each. Oh, and by the way, during the entire night, you have to manage your attention, oxygen condition, power, radiation exposure, and health meters in the biggest, most overcomplicated office in the game. But okay, if you understand all the mechanics, then surely it's pretty easy to beat, right? Well, this is where Post Shift 2's second issue comes in. RNG. Especially in the later nights, you're at the hands of the dice. If there wasn't a checkpoint at 4 AM, this would be 50-20 levels of RNG. But how did the community respond to a game of this difficulty? Even when literally every other aspect of the game is amazing. Well, it was panned, being called one of the worst FNAF fan games ever, which is just objectively wrong. But what's worrying is that I haven't seen any activity from Arjack25 on game development since, and it's frustrating because this guy is obviously so talented. So, before you send hate to him, why don't you try and make a fan game yourself? Because what if I told you some of the biggest FNAF fan games ever made are made by kids on Roblox? If you haven't already caught up with Roblox in the past few years, it's now the biggest game. Just full stop, that's it, it's just the biggest. With its over 200 million monthly users, its top games constantly rival the Steam charts, only usually being beaten by games like CSGO. Not to mention how the Roblox developer tools have gone from being able to do this to this. And unsurprisingly, Roblox has so many Five Nights at Freddy's games. But because there's just so many of them, I'm gonna split them into 3 groups. Starting with actual fan games. The biggest one of these right now is Forgotten Memories, and this game is actually really good, with amazing graphics for Roblox. There's even fully animated cutscenes with the usual Roblox jank. Though this game is your typical FNAF experience. You have to survive until 6 AM while fending off the animatronics, keeping the puppets at bay, and managing your power. But aside from the amazing graphics, there's problems. You sometimes have to leave your office to fix the power and ventilation when they break. But when these events do happen, you're left completely in the dark, especially if your flashlight runs out, which they often do really fast. So you can get lost pretty easily, and especially if you run out of oxygen, you've very little time to turn the ventilation back on before you die. It's really unforgiving. Not to mention that the office is a 1-to-1 copy of the Five Nights at Rachel's office. Even despite these problems with the free roam aspect, it's a pretty decent fully fledged fan game in Roblox. And apparently a lot of other people think that too, because this has 80 million plays. But what about the FNAF recreations? This is where it gets a bit more broken, because these games also love to be free roam. A good example of this is the biggest one right now, FNAF Co-op. Basically, you and a couple friends can play through the typical FNAF experience, including the first 4 games and 2 other mini-games. And honestly, the animatronics look really good, and the pizzerias are decently well recreated. But when you start the night, you can just leave the office. These games aren't designed to be free roam, so when you can actually see the animatronics moving, it's so immersion breaking, but in the best possible way, because these animations are so goofy. But it's not all bad, because FNAF 4 has an entire house as a map that you can explore before the night begins. FNAF 1 has a generator that breaks occasionally that you have to leave your office and fix, and the 2 minigames are entirely free roam, but they aren't really anything to write home about. But these are the FNAF roleplay games. These games usually all follow the same format. You can either play as a night guard fending off the animatronics, or occasionally the game lets you play as an animatronic yourself. There's hardly any gameplay to these, you're just given a pizzeria to wander, that's really it. But by far the best out of these shows is Roblox 2 Doom. When I played it for the first time, I was actually kind of confused, until this happened. Yeah, that's pretty much the entire game. But what if I told you that there are FNAF games out there worse than the bottom of the Roblox barrel? Because this is Scratch, a place for young aspiring game developers to make their own games using the really basic block-based coding system. You can really just make whatever you want after you've learned a couple basics and then share it to the world. So basically, the lowest possible bar for entry. Perfect for really young kids to make FNAF fan games. For example, A Week at Golden's. All these Scratch games usually contain warnings for some reason. This game is somewhat scary, but I don't want Scratch to ban me. And wow, the office is, I don't know, it's just MS Paint. Same with the cameras, same with the animatronics with their peak design. You can literally close the doors when you have the cameras open. Yeah, I mean, what do you expect? For Scratch though, it's actually on the decent side, especially since the tools in Scratch are just so limited. But who am I to criticize these Roblox and Scratch games? These Roblox and Scratch games might be broken and goofy looking, but it's still a passion project from someone who is passionate enough to spend their time making a FNAF game. These platforms are often for beginners, and there's no such thing as starting out good. Everyone starts out awful. So definitely go check these out, play them with a few friends, try to learn and beat Post Shift 2, because you never know, it could be fun.